All right, Ethan Skolnick here from Five on the Floor on the Five Reasons Sports Network. Thank you for joining us. We know if you're here, you're bored, and we understand it. So we're going to try to provide a little bit of entertainment. We've got one new participant tonight, and then one guy who's here all the time. I always feel like with Lewis, but again, I'm Ethan Skolnick. I always feel like with Lewis, like you're just here waiting. Like you don't actually leave with a StreamYard set. You're just here, which we appreciate. Vishnu is our new participant today. You know him mostly from Kane stuff, but none of our other 10 other Dolphins contributors could be here. So basically, Vishnu, who's a Cowboys fan, is going to make an argument on the Dolphins' behalf. Again, check out fivereasonsports.com. New stuff on there. From Vishnu, actually, we're doing, what is it? What we're calling the 10 recollected or the 12 recollected?
I think it's the 12. It's the dozen.
The dozen recollected.
Yes.
So we're going back through the Canes annals to basically provide you with a little nostalgia here. So Vishnu's got a continuing series. Check that out. And obviously Lewis contributes to the Extra Yard and all of that content. And check him out on our Voices section and on our news section, primarily Voices, on fivereasonsports.com. All right, today's topic. Well, first, today's episode is brought to you by Smarty Pants Marketing. That's right. We've got a bunch of new sponsors. So if you've ever wanted to sponsor us, this is a good time since we slashed the rates by 2/3 because everybody's going through this. We want to help local businesses, but we also want to stay in business, and so basically, I don't end up living on my porch. So we've got smartypantsmarketing.com. Also check them out at 954-406-3170. Reach Alan Levin. They do a great job, and they're going to be with us here in the network. All right, today's topic. We've been talking about Tua and selling a bunch of shirts for a long damn time. But Joe Burrow, like any normal human, doesn't want to play in Cincinnati, apparently, because there's a lot of stuff that's been getting out there about the Dolphins' interest in Burrow. I feel like there's a certain Herald beat writer who changes what the Dolphins are interested in every day so that essentially he can say he was right about any of the 65 scenarios that he threw out there, which is something he's been doing now for 25 years. But I'm going to pose this question. Should the Miami Dolphins go after Joe Burrow? This is obviously the quarterback from LSU who set every conceivable record after really not being much of anything as a transfer prior to that. Should they go after him, and with what? I am going to start with Vishnu. Lewis, you wait.
So, short answer is yes. Long answer is with everything they have. So, last year was, I guess you could call an unsuccessful attempt to tank. The Dolphins made the mistake of going out and getting a real coach for once, and he went and won games that he shouldn't have. So they're now sitting there at the 5th pick, and if the whole point of going through that exercise was to get the elite quarterback, I don't understand why you wouldn't spend the assets you did acquire to do that. So, yeah, it would have been great if they had the number 1 pick. They don't. They have 2 other first-rounders. Honestly, if you just trade your whole first round for the best player in the draft at the position of need that will set your franchise up for a decade, I don't see how anyone could turn that down.
Here's my thought on it before I get to Lewis, and I'm with you on a lot of this, and here's why. We have to make a determination, too, whether it's Burrow or Tua they should be pursuing, because then this really sort of takes the conversation a different way. Or Love or Herbert or any of these other guys. So you kind of have to separate the quarterbacks if you decide that they're going to get a quarterback, and they should get a quarterback. And on that, I believe they should get a quarterback. But here's what I think. Lewis, you've been evaluating their free agency, and I think they did a really good job in free agency. They covered a lot of positions with, I didn't think, that much resources in terms of financial. Like, I know that there's some hitches with some of these contracts, and Barry's gotten into that take away some of the cap space. But there wasn't a commitment on there that, like, made me retch, which has been the case with a lot of previous Dolphins free agencies. And I think in doing so, they've done more than just fill needs. They've kind of filled out a foundation for the roster in a lot of ways that makes me believe that they can trade more draft picks now to go up and get the player that they need, because they have covered. I mean, the offensive line is the obvious hole right now, but in terms of the defense, they covered a lot of the defense, more than I was expecting them to cover, while not giving up Xavier Howard, which I know you and I are in agreement on that. So why wouldn't you? If Burrow is the guy, Lewis, why wouldn't you basically say, okay, look, we got this draft pick for Minka. That's lost money at this point. We got this draft pick for Laramie Tunsil. We have all these other. We have. I know they can't trade the the compensatory picks they got, but they are extra picks in their arsenal that they can use to make up for a pick they trade. Why wouldn't you trade 3-4 picks to go get the guy if he's the guy?
Number one, it's because to assume that every single free agent that they went ahead and signed is going to work out is not only a pipe dream, it's literally impossible. I don't think there's ever been a free agency in the history of the NFL where every single guy that a team signed has been the guy they expected them to be. Is Eric Flowers going to be an all-pro guard? I'm still skeptical of that. Is Shaq Lawson going to become a superstar pass rusher? I'm not so sure about that. Is Emmanuel Ogbah going to suddenly become a star? I don't think so either there. And then, of course, there's always the issue of these players who are very successful in one scheme and then they're not very successful in another scheme. New England guys go from New England and suck everywhere else. This last Jamie Collins, how he did in Cleveland, and then he went back to New England and became Jamie Collins all over again. So now we have Kyle Van Noy, who we're hoping is not going to be a result of the New England defense. We have Ted Karras, who we are hoping is not a result of Dante Scarnecchia's usual voodoo jobs. And so this is why it feels like the Dolphins have 5 players to pick in the first 100 picks of this upcoming draft. That is 5 possible premier players they can get their hands on for the future, for the foundation of the entire franchise right now. If we are looking at Joe Burrow, who, by the way, I have to say this, he had a phenomenal season, but it was one season. Where's he been all this other time? I'm just going to say that right now. It's the one-hit wonder Dwayne Haskins he did very well in college for 1 year. He hasn't exactly lit the NFL up on fire or whatever. And quite frankly, I'm not buying the whole Joe Burrow is the only guy. And this is the main problem. When I was saying that the cult of Tua was a thing and it was getting on my nerves, it was because we had this idea of we have blinders on. Now we have blinders on for this other guy instead, and literally nobody else is worth going for. It's Joe Burrow or bust, or it's Tua or bust. There are at least 3 quarterbacks in this draft coming up who could have the potential to be franchise quarterbacks. Everybody thought Baker Mayfield coming out was the best guy. He's not doing so good right now. Everybody thought that Josh Rosen was being underrated. Not really. Josh Allen, he's inaccurate, but he's a playmaker for Buffalo, but everybody didn't think that he was going to be the best of the bunch. So far, it looks like he is. And then you have Sam Darnold, who was the most NFL-ready guy, and he's just doing what everybody does in New York.
All right, so let me go to Vishnu on this then, because I mean that is one of the arguments here, and I do think that everybody has changed gears here because not everybody, but it was Tua, and then Tua got hurt, and then all of a sudden, stuff starts coming out about how again, a certain reporter starts to float things out there about the Dolphins' interest in Burrow and possible mutual interest, and now it's all Burrow. Let's just evaluate them on their merits, though. Okay, you're going to have to give up more. If you decided you're going to go get a quarterback, and it's going to be one of those 2, it's not going to be Herbert, it's not going to be Love, it's not going to be any of the other guys on the list, right? And you decide you need to go up and get a quarterback. Now, Ryan Fitzpatrick is your bridge guy, maybe for 1 more year, and then you're going to turn the program over. Would you be willing to give up, as quarterback prospects, more for Joe Burrow than you would to go up and make sure you get Tua, whether that means getting up into Detroit's pick or whatever it is that you have to do? And we don't think they're going to have to, but let's just say, how much more would you be willing to give up for Burrow if Cincinnati's willing to trade the pick, or would you not because you like Tua better?
Well, so there's a lot to kind of unpack there. First of all, yes, you never know when you sign someone in free agency. Even less with draft picks. So having 5 picks in the top 100, just statistically, half of those are going to bust completely.
Right, but it averages out your chance.
Yeah, but at least the guys you're signing in free agency have done it at the NFL level. So I'd actually say you're more likely to hit on those than your draft picks. And then it really comes down to the talent evaluation, right? Burrow was good 2 years ago for LSU. He obviously went up a level this year, but it's not like he came out of nowhere. He stunk 2 years ago. I mean, they won the Fiesta Bowl 2 years ago on his arm. So he's not – I don't really think he's a one-hit wonder. He's probably a one-hit wonder in terms of elevating to the top of the draft. But to me, the big differentiator here is the injury history. This was not the first time Tua got injured. In fact, he was hurt in the game he got injured. He was playing hurt already.
Right.
He was injured last year or 2 years ago.
And he was still doing what he did.
Right, but this is a guy who's repeatedly getting injured. You're going to get beat up a lot more in the NFL. We talked about the offensive line being the one big weakness. You want to put an injury-prone guy back there? I don't. So you take that together, to me, Burrow is definitely the more solid pick there. And it's really about the talent valuation. If you believe he's the best quarterback, he's worth anything. Some of that logic we're using is how you end up with Ryan Tannehill. Well, he's still a top 10 quarterback. What's the difference? There's a huge difference. Most quarterbacks do bust. Most players bust. I mean, that's statistically. Look how many picks are in the draft, right? So the question is, are you willing to go for it? Because this is a franchise that has not done that. They've been very conservative with their quarterback position. Playing it safe.
Well, so conservative that, I mean, the only guy they've only drafted 3 guys in the first round in their history. Their history. I mean, we're going back 40 years. I guess here's my thing with it, Lewis, and this is where on some of this, I tend to side with Vishnu only because I'm sick of watching the Dolphins come up with excuses to not go get the quarterback, which is really why they are where they are. But I also think that the free agency stuff was interesting because they didn't address the offensive line. I don't love their offensive line pickup, okay? I don't know that he's going to be a great guard, okay? He was a pretty horrible tackle. I mean, Flowers might have had one good season, but in with the Giants, he was a disaster. I mean, he was the player the Giants fans complained about the most. And I know this hurts Vishnu's heart because of where he's from, but he was not good, okay? So here's why I think that maybe Burrow is in the plans. To me, if you were going to get Tua, you had to go get proven vets on the offensive line. Like, if that was part of the plan here, unless you think you're redshirting Tua, like, you cannot put him behind whatever they're going to have on this offensive line. I mean, even if it's a rookie left tackle who's highly regarded, I don't feel comfortable with that. And I don't feel comfortable with what else do they have on the damn line? I mean, they went and got a center who's a slight upgrade over Kilgore. That makes me think that maybe they are going for Burrow because he has proven to be more durable, as Vishnu's point has been made. And so then you go up and get him. But I guess make the argument to me, Lewis, because why, if you believe in the quarterback, let's not even argue Burrow versus Tua. I'm a Tua guy, okay? But if you believe in the quarterback, why is it not worth everything? Because I equate it to the NBA, where I always used to make these arguments about going out and getting the star and having to trade a bunch of assets for it. And every time Pat Riley's done that, it's worked. Okay? I didn't like trading Odom and Butler for Shaq. It worked. Okay? I didn't like, and once I was like Josh Richardson and assets for Jimmy Butler. It worked. I mean, to me, whatever you have to do to get the elite player, and then you fill in other guys around him.
Because basketball and football are 2 different games, and comparing the two is just not the same thing. When you have LeBron James,
isn't quarterback equated to? But isn't the quarterback the? I agree with you on every other position: elite receiver, elite running back, elite defensive end. But quarterback, though, to me, that is the LeBron James. No.
Because with the NFL, it's not just one guy. LeBron can dominate a basketball game all by himself. He doesn't need any help, really. Let's do the Tom Brady thing again. Tom Brady doesn't have his offensive line. You remember all the way back then when people were talking about, is this the end of Tom Brady? Because his offensive line suddenly fell apart. Suddenly Tom Brady didn't look like Tom Brady anymore. Everybody was questioning whether it was the end. Then suddenly the line got its act together and Tom Brady came back. It was a miracle. The NFL is so team-based, and we've talked about the quarterback thing all this time. And again, this is where we talk about, Vishnu was talking about talent evaluation. Yes, evaluate that talent. Do you really believe there's such a big difference between Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, and Tua Tagovailoa that there has to be the one guy or it's just not going to work? And this is where the whole discussion comes in. If you really believe that Joe Burrow is that much better than everybody else who is available and you can't work with anybody else, then fine. Trade all your draft picks for this guy. But that's not how it's looking. Some people are still arguing that Tua is a better quarterback. There are some people saying that Justin Herbert still has more to offer than some of these other quarterbacks. And I don't agree with that. I don't go that far with it. But to act like you have to give up everything because that's the guy, that guy could very well end up falling to you because other teams are going to be looking at other things too. We've been discussing the whole Tua thing, and we don't think that we have to trade up. Some people do. I don't, because you have Joe Burrow 1, you have Chase Young 2, you have Jeffrey Okudah 3 because Detroit still needs defensive help. Then number 4 is, I don't know, whoever, because the Giants don't need a quarterback. And then there you go. There's your quarterback. Why do you have to give up two extra draft picks?
But Lewis, I agree they probably can stay put and get Tua, but couldn't somebody move up to 4? I mean, I just feel like, I mean, and teams do crazy things you don't expect even when they have a quarterback. I mean, we've seen that before. I mean, we might have an evaluation of a quarterback, but internally the evaluation will be different. We've gotten a bunch of comments here, and which I appreciate. I want to come back with some of them. We said heaven and earth, okay? Or there's a couple that say whatever your guy is, heaven and earth. So let me throw this one at you. This came out here. Would you give up the 5, the 26, and a 4th round pick to move up to 1?
I might give up the 26, but even that, I don't like giving up. I don't like the idea of giving up 1st round picks, because that 3rd 1st round pick could very well be your next pass rusher, your next offensive tackle, who, by the way, whether you're Joe Burrow, who's more durable than Tua or not, still needs to be protected. Because even if he doesn't get hurt,
but let's go back. But let's go back through their history a little bit. And Lewis, because we both know their history, right?
Joe Burrow picture in the thing.
I know he just went in front of us. But I mean, and to Vishnu also, because I mean, he can look at this from a Cowboys perspective too. Because I think this has been the case with the Cowboys in recent years also. When Jeff Ireland had some good drafts there, some of the good work was done under the Parcells regime outside of the 1st round. And when I look back at the Dolphins' history, you never won a 3rd round pick instead of a 1st round pick. I get it. But they have enough picks that, to me, it's like when Jimmy Johnson found Zach Thomas in the 5th, found Jason Taylor in the 3rd, was aggressive and got Patrick Surtain in the 2nd, but picked up, meanwhile, his 1st round picks were Darryl Gardner, Yatil Green, etc. I'm just, are we evaluating the fact that, okay, we can't give up 26? I mean, if you have a bunch of extra 3rd round picks, maybe you find the guy there. Like, again, Jason Taylor went in the 3rd round, Vishnu.
I mean, 26 is barely a 1st rounder. I mean, we're getting into semantics here, right? What do you need, a slot receiver? I mean, what are we talking about? This is for an elite quarterback. I just don't see.
Lamar Jackson went 32.
Yeah, that's because people make mistakes. Aaron Rodgers went 22.
People make mistakes, so take advantage of that mistake.
So what you're saying is you don't trust the Dolphins to evaluate the position, which means the whole thing's not going to work. Why are they?
No, that's not what I'm saying at all. I'm saying I want more talent.
The whole premise of this is that Joe Burrow is the guy. Obviously, if no one thinks he's the guy, you wouldn't trade for him, right?
Right.
It's the underlying premise. The Dolphins aren't going to trade up to pick someone they don't believe in.
No, so I'm just a greedy son of a you-know-what, and I want all the talent. I want all the talent.
But Lewis, who do you think they're?
Why can they evaluate the 26th pick?
Who do you think they're? Lewis, you follow them as closely as anybody. And again, we can't trust certain reporters who are just, filling column space by whatever it is the team tells them that day to manipulate them. Okay, who do you think they really want? Because
Tua.
we've heard about. You still think it's Tua, right?
Yes.
I mean, but okay. Here's my question on that, because and we'll close here. But my question on that is, like, if that's the case, it's almost too obvious. Like, I've never seen a team that has been that transparent about wanting a player, whether it was Ross showing up there, whether it was that dog and pony show with Lee Steinberg during Super Bowl week, okay, where it was so. I mean, can it be that obvious? Do I think it's not him only because they couldn't possibly be this transparent, because no team in history ever has been?
And you know what? By the same token, the only thing that would stop them, again, this is the only thing stopping them from getting Tua, is that if the Detroit Lions decided that they wanted to literally pick the guy only to hold him hostage and get a king's ransom from the Dolphins. Tua does nothing for the Lions. Nothing. He doesn't.
What would you give
them.
up? Well, okay, so let's look at that. Let's close with this to both of you. The Lions decide to hold him hostage, okay? Let's take Burrow out of the equation. What are we giving up for Tua? How much you would get? Because I'll tell you this, if they hold him hostage and they say, okay, it's the 26th pick, you can move up and have your quarterback, I'm giving it to them. You're not getting, because like you said, at the 26th pick might be, I don't know. I mean, they did fine with Vernon Carey, but there's a lot of picks in the 20s they didn't do so well with, all right? Previous regimes. But Chris Greer was involved, okay? You tell me. 26th pick, Detroit says, all right, we're not getting anything else. We don't really want Tua, but we took him to hold him hostage. You giving up 26, Lewis?
I'll give up 26, but the Dolphins better use all of them draft picks of theirs to get right back up into the 1st round. That's what I'm going to say. I want those 3 first-round picks. That kind of opportunity does not happen very often.
Okay. All right. Vishnu, go ahead. 26, yes, obviously.
Yeah,
right?
I would give it up. But I think the key thing here is they got to be proactive. Make a plan and execute it. If they wait until Burrow's off the board and there's a bidding war for Tua, you're going to overpay regardless. Because now I think we can all agree those two separate themselves. So if there's only one of them left, you're pretty much, and then you're competing with other teams that are going to try and trade up. That's That's not where you want to be. They need to be proactive and do it ahead of time.
I'm with you, and there's a couple comments on here I want to react to before we go, and we appreciate all the comments. First thing, our buddy Houts said that basically the 26th pick is Charles Harris, right? I mean, that maybe not, okay? Look, the number 3 pick was Deion Jordan, all right? I mean, so, but the other question was put in here is people are saying, well, if you don't get the quarterback, go get Lawrence. There is no way this team is going to be in position for Lawrence. No way, unless he falls through the floor, in which case you don't want him, okay? There is no – this coach went 5-4 down the stretch of a season with one of the biggest garbage rosters we've seen in NFL history. They're not getting right.
No, I saw some comments going down. It's like, let's just give up all the draft picks. Like, oh God, jeez. Sorry, continue.
All right, and somebody else says, I can't wait until the draft is here already. Tired of all this talk. Kensley, we would ordinarily agree with you. There's nothing else to talk about, so this can go as long as we possibly can.
What?
Yeah, there's people taking shots at my alma mater here on this chat.
Well, that happens. All right, final thing, and thanks to Smarty Pants Marketing. Again, there's a Z in there, smartypantsmarketing.com, for sponsoring this. So definitely check them out, and all the rest of our sponsors. If you want to sponsor with us, let us know. We've got the podcasts that are rolling. 3 Yards Per Carry is actually recording tonight, so you can check that out. They'll have a bunch of stuff on this. Let's go to predictions, though. Lewis, what do the Dolphins do?
My hope is that they stand pat and get Tua because I still believe he'll be there. I predict they will trade up to 3. I only hope that Greer gets a bargain and that he doesn't have to give up all the picks to do it. I think they will trade up. I don't want them to, but I think they will. I just don't think it's going to be all the way to 1st overall just to get Joe Burrow, who may or may not be a superstar. Again, that's always the risk. If you believe that he's that good and he's worth all those picks, oh, by golly, you better hope he is, because otherwise you've just given up your job.
To me, you go, okay, go ahead. Vishnu, what are they doing? Not what do you hope they're doing. What are they doing?
Now, I said what they're going to do. They're going to trade up.
Actually,
Cowboy fan?
Luis and I can agree on this. I think they'll trade up not all the way to 1 to make sure they get Tua.
But, I mean, there's some coming here on the chat that with the Chargers and the Redskins talking that there could be
the Chargers don't trade. The Chargers don't
so?
trade. Their GM hates trading. Their GM hates trading. Historically speaking, he hates trading.
No, that's
like
true.
To trade.
No, you're correct. Although sometimes GMs do things you don't expect. But yes, that is okay. I mean,
he doesn't have the assets. Anything the Chargers are willing to give up, the Dolphins can do. We'll give you that plus 1. So there you go.
Well, and my thing is, do it. I'm not. Don't go get a quarterback in the 3rd round and try to talk me into him. All right. If it's one of these 2 guys, go get one of these 2 guys. Do what you have to do to get them. You've got an opportunity. And here, the other thing, I don't think the players they draft have to be as good as I thought they were before, because I think that this coaching staff can coach them up. So I have more faith in this coaching staff than I've had in any previous coaching staff. You agree with me on that, Lewis? So to me, I think at this point we're getting greedy here. Like, they've got so many draft picks. Like, if they came into this draft with 1 or 2 fewer picks, you still would have been happy with what they had, right? So it's just because they have more, but. It's. I
told you right off the get-go, I'm a greedy son of a you-know-what. I want all the 1st-round picks.
I mean, if you had Jennifer Aniston, but you're like, I could have had Jessica Alba. No, okay? You're fine. You're good. We all good? All right, Vishnu, Lewis, me. We're going to be doing this every night at 8 o'clock. We'll be rotating, but every night at 8 o'clock. We're just trying to keep ourselves entertained here. Also, check out my shirt. Bucket Brothers shirt, 15% off. Use Miss Sports. There's 3 S's in the middle. Miss Sports 5 to get 15% off all week. On all, we got Cane's. Well, we don't really have a Cane shirt. It's kind of a mocking the Cane shirt.
I know.
Actually,
I saw that. Yeah. I was going to get one to sport it, and then I'm like, I can't wear this.
You can't wear that. It's kind of what FIU shirt, to be honest. It's Coral Gables University. But
it doesn't look as good on you as it does the models, though.
No, the models came through. They came through. The fact that you saw my apartment in the background is ignore that. These shirts, 10 of them, 10 Heat shirts. We've got Dolphin shirts on there. We actually have a positive Dolphin shirt. We've got a Trust the Flowcess shirt on there, Brian Flores shirt, as well as Tua 2020. My prediction, Dolphins move up to 3. They give up at least 1 first-round pick plus a mid-round pick. They go up and get him, and he's their quarterback. Have a good night, everybody.